All right, so this, of course, is the big story that we are tracking on WION this hour. There's a major shift in geopolitics that is presently underway. New alliances are being forged. Old bonds are being broken. And we're talking about West Asia, where Saudi Arabia and Iran, two bitter rivals for decades, have now decided to put their things in the past and re-establish their ties. This deal could potentially bring about much-awaited peace in the region. But behind this surprise move is the invisible hand of China, which has brokered the deal, much to the heartburn of the Americans. Our next report gets you more details about the changing axis in geopolitics in West Asia.
Iran and Saudi Arabia shaking hands, a sight which surprised the world, and even more because holding them together is China. The causes of the disagreements were extensively reviewed and the means that would solve it, as the kingdom has been mindful of this happening within the brotherly bond between the two countries.
China will constantly play an important role in promoting international and regional peace and stability.
The improvement of relationship of both the sides has paved the way for peace stability in the Middle East. It has also set an example for resolving conflicts and disputes between courtiers through dialogue and negotiation.
The messaging is clear. China's clout in West Asia is growing, a place where the United States has long wielded influence. Also crucial is the timing of the announcement, which came on a day when President Xi Jinping got a third five-year term as leader. This agreement between Riyadh and Tehran could have wide implications in West Asia, vis-à-vis Iran's nuclear deal and the civil war in Yemen, where the two sides are locked in a proxy war. At the core of the conflict is the Shia-Sunni divide, the two main branches of Islam. Iran and Saudi Arabia are on the opposing sides of this split, but much beyond that, it's about wielding their political power in the region. In Syria, Saudis back the rebel groups, while Iran is backing the opposite camp, which is the Assad regime. Again in Lebanon, Tehran backs the Hezbollah, a Shia militant group, while Riyadh supports the Lebanese government to take on the Hezbollah. So why are sworn enemies becoming friends? Well, the reason could be economical. The kingdom wants to focus on diversifying its economy, and this thawing of ties could mean end to its proxy war. Iran, on the other hand, is reeling under US sanctions. Its economy is crippled. By extending an olive branch to the regional superpower, it can earn new friends. The major diplomatic breakthrough negotiated with China lowers the chance of armed conflict between the West Asian rivals, both directly and in proxy conflicts around the region. But much beyond the shifting sands of West Asia, Washington is cautious as the superpower hates to lose its grip on a region where it has very deep interests. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And also to give us more insights in terms of what's exactly happening in West Asia and what has brought about this interesting sort of an agreement between Iran and Saudi Arabia, we're being joined by Lester Munson, who's a senior fellow at the National Security Institute. Now, Mr. Munson, this is an interesting change and a pretty big one at that has now taken place, where two nations that had remained rivals for decades, who've got deep ideological divisions and serious differences in the geopolitical objectives that they would like to pursue, that is, Iran and Saudi Arabia have now arrived at a deal, and this has, of course, been brokered by China. What do you make of this?
Well, it is indeed interesting. I think it remains to be seen how significant this will be. It's certainly a salutary announcement, and I think anyone who's interested in peace anywhere in the world will welcome this. We'll see if it's sustainable. I do believe this agreement was built on a successful ceasefire in Yemen that was brokered by both the United States and the United Nations over the last year. So I think there are multiple fathers of this success. If it is indeed a success, we will see how well Iran and Saudi Arabia get along. They still have some fundamental differences. values and interests. So, yes, a remarkable event to be sure, but I think a lot remains to be seen about how significant it is.
All right, it's very interesting that you say that there are multiple fathers to this deal that Saudi Arabia and Iran have in fact struck. But it is being said that it is China that has brokered the deal. How do you think the United States would view the fact that Saudi Arabia, which happens to be a close ally of the United States, although in recent years there have been differences between the Saudis and the Americans ever since Mohammed bin Salman has taken charge, but United States and Iran just simply don't get along at all. With that being the case, the Chinese brokering a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran, how is that likely to be perceived in Washington?
Well, the Biden administration, it should be noted, is welcoming the deal and is not saying it's opposed to China's involvement here. I think the reality is that there is some concern in the United States that China's role in the region may be increasing. If it is, but again, I think we should say if it's to bring parties together and to avoid hostility, it's to be welcomed. But I think at the end of the day, China's involvement here is economical. It is one of the biggest customers of both Saudi energy sources and Iranian energy sources. China, as a authoritarian state, does not have the same problem dealing with Iran that the United States does. The United States and Iran have fundamental problems that go back a long way. And the U.S. simply was not talking to Iran about these issues. And I would say the final thought might be that the Biden administration should be recalibrating its approach to the region in particular. It's been pursuing a renewal of the Iran nuclear deal. That's not in the cards. Everyone's seen that for a couple of years now. It's clear the action is elsewhere, and it's time for the administration to adjust.
All right, my final question to you is, do you think this deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran will have any impact on the Abraham Accords? The United States, especially under Donald Trump, was the forefront in helping Israel to normalize relations with its Arab neighbors. But now, with Iran, which is said to be a sworn enemy of the state of Israel, now joining hands, or rather striking this deal with the Saudi Arabians, do you think that is likely to shift the alignments in the Middle East?
In a way, it could make an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia more likely if the Biden administration senses some competition from China and Israel senses some competition from Iran. Perhaps those parties to such a deal would be more interested in getting something done between Riyadh and Jerusalem. So there's, but I think it remains to be seen. This is a very complicated situation, of course. The consequences are still unclear. In general, though, I think we should all be welcoming it.
All right, very interesting. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Munson, for joining us and getting us all those updates there.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.